Hi, for those of you that don't know, I'm Miss Doherty, your online student teacher. This is the first time I've ever made a video like this, so I hope it goes well and I hope you guys get something out of it. This is a short worksheet I made to kind of introduce you guys to circles and their equations and how to graph them. A blank copy of this worksheet is posted on Classroom along with this video if you want to print it out and follow along or write it down on your own piece of paper or just watch the video. Entirely up to you. Okay, so we're going to get started with the definition of a circle. So it is the set of points in a plane that are a fixed distance called the radius from a fixed point called the center. So the standard form of the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the h and k that we have here in blue, so that represents the center of the circle. That's our h is our x coordinate and k is our y coordinate, and then r is the radius of our circle. So our first example here, so write the equation in standard form with center 0, 6 and radius of 1. So all we're doing is we're taking our center and our radius and we're plugging them in to this equation up here to where they correspond. So we've got x minus h, so our h here is 0 squared, plus y minus k, our k is 6 squared, equals r squared, which is 1 squared. So now that we have that, we're just going to simplify that. So x minus 0 is x, so that's just going to be x squared plus y minus 6 squared. We can't simplify that anymore, so we just leave it. And then 1 squared is 1. Okay, so now another example right here. So this would be a good point to pause the video if you wanted to try it on your own before you watch me do it. So if you want to do that, go ahead and feel free. So we're taking our center again, plugging it in. So we have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 4 squared. So that was plugging in 4 and 5 for h and k, and then plugging in our radius for r. So simplifying, so x minus 4 squared stays the same, y minus 5 squared stays the same, and then 4 squared is 16. So those are just two examples of when you're given a center and a radius and they ask you to write the equation of the circle. So all you have to do is plug them into the formula. So now we're going to practice graphing with the origin as our center. So if the origin is our center, so we have x squared plus y squared, that's the same thing as x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. And then something I should have done that I didn't do before, so this 4 here, that's the same thing as a 2 squared. So our radius here is actually 2, not 4, so that's something good to keep in mind because you might get tripped up on that kind of thing. So remember, the number after the equal sign, your radius squared. So our center here, the origin, so I'm going to put a point at my center. Okay, and then, so we know our radius is 2, so I'm going to count 2 spaces to the right, 2 spaces up, 2 spaces to the left, and then 2 spaces down. I'm going to put a point at each of those spaces. This is an easy way to graph it, especially if you don't have a compass, so you can at least get points to make a rough sketch of your circle. Okay, so now this next example, I'm going to change this 6 to a 9 first before I do this. So if you decided you wanted to print this paper out and you're actually using it, make sure you're keeping up with the changes I'm making. That is my own fault. So if you wanted to try this on your own after changing the 6 to a 9 before I do it, go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. So again, our center here is the origin, so I'm putting a point there. This is equal to 9, which is also equal to 3 squared, so my radius here is a 3. So I'm going to count 3 points to the right, 3 points up, 3 to the left, and 3 down. And then make a rough sketch of my circle. So now graphing without the origin as the center is really similar, except you just have a different center. Again, I'm going to change this 2 to a 16 because I messed up when I was making this. So now our center isn't the origin, so we have to find our center first. So our center is going to involve the 5 and the 3. So our center is 5, 3. So I'm going to count over to the right 5 and up 3. So that is my center. So now from there, so my radius 16 equals 4 squared. So my radius is going to be 4. So now from my new center point, I'm going to count to the right 4 spaces. Count up 4 spaces. To the left 4 spaces. And then down 4 spaces. And I'm going to make my sketch of the circle. So not really different than if the origin is your center, just have to use your h and your k values here. So just another quick example. Again, I'm going to change this 3 to a, I'm going to just make it a 4. Okay, so if you wanted to pause and try this on your own, now would be the time. Quick thing before, if you do try to pause it, there's something slightly different about this problem than from the last one, so try and keep that in mind while you're doing it. Okay, so the thing that's different about this problem, so we have x minus 4 squared plus y plus 2 squared. So y plus 2 squared is the same thing as y minus negative 2. So your coordinates of your center here are actually 4, negative 2. So I'll count over 4, down 2. That is my new center. My radius here is 2. So to the right 2, up 2, to the left 2, and down 2. And that's my circle. So the thing you gotta be careful of that one is if you have x or y plus that number that you're adding when you go to graph it, it's gonna be the opposite. So you have a positive 2, it's gonna be a negative 2. Okay, so these questions right here, just a bit more practice. If you want, you can pause the video and try them on your own first before I go over them, so now would be the time to do that. Okay, so determine the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius. So the way I would do this, I would look at the circle. If I had a ruler, it'd be easier. I would try and draw a line down the middle of both of those. Determine that my center is approximately right there. So if I go over, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 over, 1, 2, 3 up. So my center is 4, 3. And then my radius is how far away the center is to the outside of the circle. So I would start from my center. I can count to the right or up or left or down, doesn't matter. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 units away from the center. So my radius is 7. So now write the equation. That was like what we did in the first couple examples. So we're plugging these in. So we have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 7 squared. And when we simplify, we get x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 49. Okay, so now which of the following equations would describe the graph shown below? So we need our center and we need our radius. So very similar to the question above, we're going to find our center. So our center here is over 1, 2, 3 to the right and down 2. So our center is 3, -2. Our radius, so I'm counting over to the right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our radius is 5. So if we're plugging these in, and we're looking at our choices here, trying to eliminate our choices. So we know 3 has to be plugged in for h, and -2 has to be plugged in for k. So remember our equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if you can't tell what the answer is just by looking at the choices, just take what you have and plug it in and see if your answer matches any of the other answers. So if we're going that way, we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus -2 squared. This is really sloppy, I'm sorry about that. Equals 5 squared. Okay, so we're plugging all that in, so then that's x minus 3 squared plus this is going to be y plus 2 squared. Negative minus negative, negative times a negative is a positive, and then 5 squared is 25. So your answer here should be choice number 2. Okay, so that's all I have for this video. I will get another circle activity up for you guys that deals with these kinds of things. I'll try and make it somewhat interesting, so just keep an eye out for that, and I hope this was helpful.